All right, as we do, let's turn it over to Martin Anderson Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a new number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own, to talk about our module of the week. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, John. Have you ever wanted to replace Drupal's Ajax capabilities with a lightweight library that has no additional dependencies? There's a module for that. It's called HTMX, and it was created in May of 2023 by Wouters F. The recent releases are by Father Sean of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. It has 1.3.5 and 1.4.0 versions available, both of which support Drupal 10.3 and 11, and it is actively maintained. In fact, the most recent release was less than a month ago. It has security and test coverage, and it does have documentation actually included within the repo as well as in an online repository that we'll have linked in the show notes. It has 3 open issues, one of which is a bug, which is pretty good considering it is officially in use by 92 sites according to Drupal.org. Now, to use HTMX, you need to attach the library to the render array of one or more elements where you want to use it, and then add data attributes to your render array that indicate how you want HTMX to react to user behavior. HTMX can help make your Drupal sites more interactive by dynamically loading or reloading parts of a page, giving it a more application like user experience. There is a planning issue to discuss gradually replacing Drupal's current Ajax system with HTMX and a related proof of concept showing how that could work with an existing Drupal admin form. A number of elements in the current Ajax system also rely on jQuery, so adopting HTMX would also help to phase out jQuery in core. HTMX is also significantly more lightweight than JS frameworks like React. Now, HTMX is really a developer oriented project, which is why I thought it would be appropriate for this week's episode. So let's talk about HTMX.
So I have been following. I know this is about the module, but I have a feeling that this section is going to be more about HTMX itself. Um, so I've been following that meta issue and the proof of concept from a high level, and I've chatted with Father Sean a couple times about it. I think it's pretty interesting. I think honestly, for I think there's like three really cool things that HTMX has the opportunity to do. One is it kind of feels like it's going to be just an in place replacement for most people. Like the idea is that however you're interacting with the Ajax system in Drupal, you're going to continue interacting with it. And instead of doing jQuery things, it's going to do HTMX things. So I think that that's pretty cool. The second big thing is something you mentioned, getting rid of jQuery in general is something that most of the web has been moving towards over the last few years. So that'd be nice. But I think the really cool thing is the idea behind it is interactivity through attributes, which should make it a lot easier to get interactivity in certain places where you couldn't previously. So instead of having to like write a JavaScript library and find out how to attach it and handle, Drupal settings, all that kind of stuff. You can just like in the twig template, add an attribute to the HTML. Um, or if we solve the issue with views and filtering, you could just rewrite a field on views and output some HTML with an attribute. So I think it's pretty powerful. Um, the other thing I'd want to point out about that I think is pretty nice or really cool is the maintainer of HTMX, Carson Gross, found out about this initiative and jumped into the issue queue and jumped into Slack and offered his assistance and insight into helping Drupal adopt HTMX. And so I think a few people have really taken that on and have been working with him. It's gonna be a long project. Let's not kid ourselves, but, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think one of the comments I had seen in that issue that was talking about potentially moving over to HTMX in Drupal core was mentioning that the approach might be, rather than trying to have sort of a direct kind of under the hood swap, that effectively there would sort of deprecate the current ways of using Ajax and basically ask people to move their markup over to the new sort of HTMX standard. So from that standpoint, it sounds like it could be potentially even, multiple major releases of overlap before they would eventually phase out the older style notation.
Yep.
Yeah, because I imagine like we're not just talking about Drupal core here, right? Right? Because like, yes, Drupal core has Ajax. Yes, Drupal core uses jQuery. Yes, we could remove it from there, but there are also a ton of modules that rely on Core's Ajax and jQuery to do the things that they do. So, yeah, I imagine that you are probably spot on with that analysis, Martin, in the fact that like there's going to be a lot of overlap there. I wonder also like and I assume, like, I don't know how they would go about doing this, but I imagine it would be similar to like, hey, let's turn it on as like an experimental module in Drupal core, right? And allow for it to replace the current system. But um I don't know. Or would it be more like an image library? I guess that's more of a question than a statement. Is like, would it
Yeah.
be like an image library where we're just replacing one with the other, or would it be actually have a module associated with it?
There's a couple problems. A One is, um, if we take your analogy, the image library, like there's an API for interacting with image items, so really
Mhm.
having something under the hood is pretty easy. Whereas w- we do have an an API for Ajax and Drupal, but it's not the same kind of API. I don't think it's more tightly coupled to the
Yeah,
implementation. So it's more, I think maintaining both systems for everything is really out of the question. I think what really will happen is we'll replace, section A, autocomplete routes will be replaced with HTMX in version 11.3 or 11.2. And if you're using that in the future, you have to use that the other way is deprecated. But it's too much work to kind of do a one and done swap,
I
but it's
see.
also way too much work to maintain
So it'd be kind of
both
like
systems too.
it'd be kind of like a reverse as opposed to enabling HTMX, you'd actually go out and get like the Ajax or jQuery modules and apply them to your project to be able to keep using them.
I don't even think it goes that far. It's just that if there's a change to the Ajax API, it'll be deprecated, you have to replace it. And then as soon as that deprecation period's up, it'll just be removed.
Ooh,
Is it- yeah.
that feels like a lot to me, but
Yeah.
you know,
I
what
mean,
do I know?
yeah, it's how Drupal does development for this kind of thing. So, there is quite a bit of momentum there. There's some excitement. There's not a lot of JavaScript people in the Drupal community working on core at the moment. I mean, people have been trying to get rid of Backbone JS for 6 years now. So, uh,
So if you're a JavaScript person and you wanna come and help us get out of our JavaScript hole, please feel free.
yeah, people would very much appreciate your contribution there.
I
I
think
have a
Backbone was
feeling
used for the toolbar at the top, which is, like, on
Yes.
the way to getting out, so I can't think of any other systems that use Backbone.
That is the only one, and that's one of the kind of like it's funny that the way that they're gonna get rid of Backbone is by replacing the toolbar entirely rather than just replacing Backbone.
Yeah.
I think it used to be used for contextual links or something too, but I think
If
I think the primary place right now is toolbar.
if only there were some sort of way to poll the community as to like what JavaScript, things they're using or not using.
Oh.
I
No,
wonder.
nobody wants to use Backbone, just nobody has put the effort in to write the
Yeah,
JavaScript they need
that
to get rid of it.
that was a gonna be a segue into our
Oh, sorry. Continue.
well, Martin, as usual, thank you for bringing a very topical and enlightening module of the week. If folks wanted to suggest their own or just talk to you about fun modules, where could they do that?
we are always happy to talk about interesting projects and potential candidates for Module of the Week in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can reach out to me directly as ManClue on all of the Drupal and social channels.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
See you next week.